The purpose of this video is to show you a few features that Fintel offers that you might not be aware of. My name is Wilton Weisenhofer, and I'm the creator of Fintel, and I want to walk you through some of the things that we've done recently that have to do with hedge fund holdings and how you might use this idea that institutions have to report their holdings to your advantage and basically find new companies that you might not be aware of. The idea is simply this. I'm going to click on the right-hand side up here, up to Tools, and I'm going to go to the Hedge Fund Holdings Tracker. Then I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes about hedge fund holdings. Every company that makes more than every institution that holds more than $100 million in funds in the United States is required to report their holdings on a quarterly basis on a form called 13F filing. Fintel parses all those filings and aggregates the data and ends up with a really interesting report on a quarterly basis. And that's what this hedge fund holdings tracker does. The idea is that if we look at all of the institutions and we look at what they are all reporting as holding, and if we sort those securities that they hold by total number of institutions holding them, then we might come to the conclusion that companies that are most popular or have a lot of institutions holding them might be, quote, relatively safe investments, or they might have a likelihood that they would not decline in value all that much. And we come to that conclusion because we recognize that institutions probably have large research budgets. I'm not saying that they all make great decisions, but they have larger research budgets than you and me. They put a lot of thought into them, and they can't all be wrong, right? So that's the idea. I'm not saying it's right. I don't know if there's any academic research behind this, but this is one way that you can do your due diligence to see, at least to make sure that you're not buying into something that a lot of people are selling. And to kind of further that, right, it's not just a question of how many institutions are holding a specific security, but you can also look at how many institutions are adding or buying into or taking new positions in security, and that's what we're trying to look at here. So this hedge fund holdings tracker looks at all the institutions. The report, again, the database is about 11,000 institutions in the United States, and it sorts these securities by by change in owners. So here you can see that 1,264 institutions added this security, and it's DuPont warrant. Okay, so that doesn't help you and me all that much, but it's kind of interesting. Corteva, another one that's added a lot of owners. But let's look at Uber. Like Uber only had one prior owner. Now it's got 397. That's a new company, right? It just IPO'd recently. Amcor, because this change in value is infinity, and because there were no prior owners, we can assume that all three of these are basically new companies that IPO'd and they weren't available. The Spider, Barclays 0-5-year TIPS ETF increase, that tells you something about what perhaps the macro view is. But now we start getting something interesting where you see Designer Brands, which did exist, had 28 prior owners, now has 232. It's a huge increase. And so this is really interesting because there's, for some reason, lots of institutions are buying into this company. We can take a look at Slack, Atlantic Union Bank shares, and Zoom Video Communications all had 0 prior owners. They're all new companies. But look at Lyft. Lyft had 211. Now it's got about 366. That's a big increase in ownership there. The Walt Disney Company had 2,400, added 113 new owners, big increase. Anadarko Petroleum Corporation had 838, added 95. So, Newmont Mining had 607, added 94. This is all interesting stuff because for some reason there are a lot of institutions that are taking new positions in this company, and I would like to know why. Okay. Now, what else can we do with this? Well, we might say that maybe we're not interested in the investments that are made by the entire universe of institutions. Maybe we would like to narrow it down. Maybe we have some hedge funds or some institutions that we find to be particularly interesting, and we would like to be able to know what the most common securities held across those institutions are. So we can do that with Fintel. So I can go to the search function here, and I can say, let's do a search for Baker Brothers, which is an institution that I know does a lot of biotech investing. So I find it interesting, right? So I go to Baker Brothers. I've already got this fund in my dashboard, so I'm not going to click to remove it, but I can take a look at this. I can see that the portfolio value has been increasing. I can look at the performance, and I can see that the performance has been, relatively increasing. I think if you did a year over year rather than quarter over quarter, you'd see that there's a nice trend here. So, I find it interesting. I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to try to find another biotech fund that I haven't seen before, another company that at least invests in biotechs that I haven't seen before. So I'm going to click on Alexion, and I'm going to take a look at the funds that are buying into this. Now, let's see, we've got a bunch of 13Gs. T. Rowe Price, Fidelity, State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock, Capital Research. These are all really large companies, large investment funds that have large indexes, probably not very significant signals because they're primarily index funds. But we might find that, like sort on shares, Jennison Associates. Well, I don't know much about Jennison Associates, but let's click through here, and it looks like they actually have a significant number of biotech investments. Well, it looks like they have a broad range of biotech investments. Let's take a look at their overall performance. The performance is actually really good. So I'm going to add this to my fund to my dashboard, and return to my dashboard. And now we're going to jump to this kind of the sentiment tab here, and I'm going to show you what we can do with this. So in addition to stocks, which we can follow in FinTel, which I've got a bunch of stocks that I'm following. You can follow the institution. We just did that. I'm going to click over to investors, and what this chart shows me, what this table shows me, is it takes all the investors that I'm following: Baker Brothers, Starboard Value, Point72, Tiger Global Management, Melvin Capital, Scion Asset Management, and it creates this table of securities that they hold, and it sorts them by current owners, and I can sort this up or down if I want. So the most commonly held company across these hedge funds that I'm following is Alibaba Group. Makes sense, pretty popular company. Facebook, Domino's Pizza, what's up with that? Well, there were 6, now there's 8, 2 increased their holdings. Salesforce.com, VC eBay, pretty interesting stuff. I might do a second look at Domino's because it's not a company that I would have normally thought was interesting. But I see that there are people that are buying into it, and so I might go back and take a second look at them. I can also look at change in owners here. Let me sort this by change in owners. I can see that these companies all have 4 new investors, 4 new institutions, although they didn't exist before. So, this is probably just initial positions. But these companies here all did exist, and they all added 3 new institutions. So I might go take a look at these and see what's going on with these and see what the interest is. In addition, I can take a look at my securities. I can look at the same kind of table from a securities perspective, where basically on the left-hand column here are all the companies that I'm following, and the table shows you kind of the sentiment, the institutional sentiment of those securities. So I can sort by current owners, which is how we are right now. 913 institutions total have positions in Tesla Motors. That's not the institutions that I'm following. This is in the universe. But 21 have sold out in the last quarter, so that's not good. Let me sort this by change in owners. Uber Technologies went from 1 to 398. Okay, so we get that. Zoom Video Communications IPO'd last quarter. Beyond Meat IPO'd last quarter. So this is, although interesting, not much of a strong signal. Lyft, Lululemon, Neo, Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals, Wayfair, all added a significant number of new institutions, so are all worth looking into. And Pair TM as well. Look at that, Kennedy Growth Corporation. So this is how, I'm already following them. I'm already interested in them. They're already on my radar, but this tells me something else about them that I might not have known. And I can also sort this by people selling out. So Stamps.com, I actually hold Stamps.com. It's done really well the last quarter, but unfortunately, 63 companies have sold out in the last quarter, and so that's not a good sign. I don't like that one bit, and so I might go back and do a second look and try to figure out why those institutions have all sold out. Likewise with Teva, Tesla, and so forth and so on. So that's basically kind of what I wanted to explain to you, is that you can actually use Fintel and the changes in institutional ownership on a macro level to get a better sense about whether or not institutions like or dislike, or they're bullish or they're bearish on specific companies that you're following. I hope this helps, and I hope you learned something today, and let me know if there's anything else I can show you.